Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Beards, Bourbon, and Games. I'm your co-host, Conquoer Corey. With me, I'm Mike.
Why am I here?
Well, I got a story to tell you. And I can't really believe this has happened, but it did. So we went on a family trip. I was taking little Conqueror to a water park. And I had to drop by a clinic and get my medications and stuff. And we happened to drive by. And we saw Mrs. Conqueror's family near the Goodwill where we live. Yeah, Goodwills are really big where I live. Probably big where everyone lives. You can find a lot of good deals. But where I live, out in the boondocks, you know, you don't get a whole lot of tech deals.
Yeah.
So I pull around, right? I get my medicine at the clinic. I pull around. I'm waiting on Mrs. Conqueror, and she goes, "Oh, I have found my unicorn," which is a term me and Mrs. Conqueror use whenever we found something rare that we've been looking for and we cannot find it. She found a stand mixer, a $120 stand mixer. She paid like $10 because, you know, it's Goodwill.
Right.
And so I'm going in there, you know, and I'm not expecting anything. Well, as Mrs. Conqueror's getting to check out, I look in this little cabinet where they put all their games and stuff, you know, and this is where I live. There's not a whole lot of technical users here.
But man, you can find sometimes you find some really good games in Goodwill. Real cheap.
So I happen to look down and I see a Ziploc bag. Mike, you care to read that?
Raspberry Pi 3 for $8.99.
You know what the best part is? It comes with a case. It comes with a power supply. It comes with a micro SD card reader. And it works.
Holy crap, that's a deal and a half.
That's an $80 computer, by the way. So, yeah, I found my unicorn too. I don't know how it happened, but it did. I bought it for $9. Thank you, Goodwill. I know it was pure profit for you, but still. Yeah, so I got thinking. You know what I like more than getting good deals? Retro gaming. Emulation. I've always wanted to try to put an emulator on a RetroPie, but I've just never really I couldn't convince myself to do it because of the price. It was like fate. It was just destiny. It was destined for me to put retro emulation on these things, which it has an SD card, by the way, already in it. But let's take a look at the contents here. So we got the power supply. We got the that's actually the receipt where the guy bought it. I got his email. I'm not going to show it to the internet, no. But he paid $82. Paid $7.45 for shipping. USPS priority mail. Goodwill? You might want to check your bags.
Yeah.
Because I got this guy's address now. But we're going to get rid of it. And that's my Goodwill receipt right there. TF card reader. Are you happy? Not happy? I'm very happy with this deal. And here it is, right here. This is the RetroPie, and it's gotten jammed up in there. Oh gosh. So I'm gonna open it here.
It was working.
I had a RetroPie. I never worked with these cases. Oh gosh almighty, did that just I'm scared to touch it. Okay, there we go. It is retro. This is actually the B Plus model. It's got 1 gig of RAM. For those that don't know, a RetroPie is just a single board computer. It kind of started the whole craze for single board computers. You do all kinds of businesses use these for signs. They use them for, excuse me, you can use them for desktop experiences. But no, sorry, I'm going to use it for emulation. I'm almost half tempted to pick up an SNES case for this thing.
You should.
But yeah, it's got a 16 gigabyte SD card in it. I'm pretty sure I can load all the things. Now, it's not going to play PS2 or PS3 emulation game. I'm checking my expectations at the door here, but
You might be able to pull off PS1.
I'm sure we would be able to pull off PS1. But I am very curious. I know it boots because I turned it on. I didn't expect it to work, but I was willing to risk $8, $9 on this thing. But yeah, we'll see what all we can do with this thing. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go to Raspberry Pi's website, and we're going to click on software, and we're going to download the Raspberry Pi Imager. This is a really cool program because it allows you to program your SD cards for your Pi, and it's a simple, you click the application, next, finish type of deal. So as you can see here, I'm clicking yes, clicking install, it's doing its thing, then I click finish, and I'm going to open the program. And what I like about this is you actually choose the operating system you want. So if you want a gaming OS, it lists RetroPie there, and you literally tell it what Pi model you got, so it takes care of all the needed drivers and things like that. And then you simply just pick what SD card you want to write it to. In this case, I had a USB SD adapter. You get a prompt, it's going to erase it, click yes. Super easy. It just takes a lot of the guesswork out, and so I applaud them for making a really simple interface to program these things.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by it. So now we're going to take the SD card, we're going to put it into the Pi, and it's going to do some initial file system prep, essentially, and then it's going to reboot, and it's going to bring us into RetroPie. So once it gets loaded up, it's going to launch Emulation Station, which is the front end that RetroPie uses. And the first thing it'll do is detect your gamepad and register the controllers. So I had a 8-bit DOE controller. It picked it up as the Xbox 360, and I started just pressing buttons to map it. Now with the 8-bit DOE controller, I did have some problems with the analog, with the joystick directions being detected, but the 8-bit DOE wireless mods, we didn't have that kind of issue with. So you'll see me skip everything here, but otherwise you would be pressing the joystick up, down, and then a hotkey button if you want to exit games with the controller. I just wanted to kind of get into it and take a look at it. But here's the main menu. So we got different settings that you can adjust. You really don't have to adjust too much right off the bat. So now we're going to use a USB drive as the storage drive for the RetroPie. I'm getting tongue-tied here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to rename this folder. We're going to create a folder and we're going to call it RetroPie. Now this is an important part of the step. So because what we're going to do next is we're actually going to take this USB, unplug it from the computer, and plug it in to the RetroPie. And when you do that, you're going to see it flash and do a little bit of writing. Then you can take it out of the RetroPie and then plug it into the computer. But there's going to be a difference now. Instead of there just being that RetroPie folder, when you click it, you're going to have a BIOS folder. You're going to have a configs folder. You're going to have a ROMs folder, which is really, really awesome because it's going to make it so much easier to place your ROMs. You don't have to create all the different folders for your systems. You literally just drag and drop your ROMs.
Wow.
So yeah, I've been doing this a long time, and I really like that aspect of it. So as you can see here, I'm going through placing some of my ROMs. I grabbed some good sample ROMs to test out. A lot of them you've seen in our other videos, but got the SNES ROM. I put Rocky Rodent. That was one I used to love as a kid. And then N64 Mischief Makers. So I went for some that people may not recognize anymore. And of course Resident Evil, because why not? It's Spirit Department games.
It's got to go in there.
And the last thing I got to do, because we do got a PlayStation ISO in there, we do need to have a BIOS file in order for it to successfully run. So don't forget your BIOS if you're running PlayStation. But your mileage may vary on how good it does. It was not awesome when we were testing it, but for lower end stuff, absolutely. So what I'm going to do here is after I get everything plugged in, I'm going to restart the RetroPie. It's going to reboot Emulation Station, and it should be scanning through all my folders and picking up my ROM. So when I boot up here, you're going to actually see games listed. So there's Mega Drive, there's Super Nintendo. So on the boot up is when it scans these folders. So now you can navigate through, you can select which ROM you want to play, and you literally just select your game, which is really, really awesome and cool. So here we go. We got a screen loading up. I'm going to load up Rocky Road in here just as an example for the video.
Rocky Road it.
It's really cool. He gets powers to like hairspray and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those weird games I played. It came out in 1993, back when old Bill was running the country. But there we go. We got Rocky Road in there. I'm sitting there trying to smack rodents with my hairdo. It's a really goofy game. But as you can see, it's playing the game really well. I'm not having any issues there besides the fact the game just doesn't really control that great. You know, this is back when games were really trying to figure out who they wanted to be. But all in all, for lower end stuff, for anything below a PlayStation, I think you'll be really happy with. PlayStation, you'll start to notice some sound clipping and things like that. So again, just check your expectations, and you'll be very satisfied with the Raspberry Pi 3. But again, $9, can't beat it. Well, that was a fun little experience for me, and it only cost me $9.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
So you can see here, we do got separate videos on all these, but here are all our retro controllers. We configured them and actually played the games.
Yeah.
So it was actually really, really fun. But it's a very simple interface. You open up that program, you literally tell it, oh, I want this flash drive, install RetroPie. It even has it categorized in the software for gaming OSs, and that's where I got RetroPie, which is, I believe it uses RetroArch. I'm pretty sure it does. It's
so much stuff uses RetroArch as its base.
But like I said, it's really good. It's not going to run things like PS2, PS3, it maybe. But the model I got is the B+, which only has 1 gigabyte of RAM, so I'm trying my best not to push it.
Yeah.
But for $9 at a Goodwill, I'll take it.
Yeah, $9 retro console, chef's kiss.
I was able to use my 8-bit DOE Bluetooth adapter, USB adapter for all these controllers, and it was nice to use. For the sake of the video, I used a regular USB stick for my ROMs, but I think what I'm going to get is one of those little SanDisk cruisers, a little small profile one, stick it in the back of that, plug it in. The thing is, these things draw such low power, so if you got like a bedroom PC, a bedroom TV that you would love to play retro games before you go to bed at night, you could literally take some zip ties and zip tie that to the back of your TV, and Pies just run. They just run. People use them for digital. There's a reason why people buy them. They use them for digital signs. They use them for all kinds of stuff. So this is one of the many things it can do. And so, like I said, I'm happy with it. The OS interface is very intuitive. The first thing it does is say, hey, pair a controller. Hold a button. Oh, I see it. Okay, now map all your buttons. It walks you through mapping all your buttons as soon as you pair your controller, which is really cool. I would probably, though, use another 8-bit DOE controller, like an Xbox controller or something like that. And the reason why is because these older ones, while they are great, there is a menu button for you to exit out of your games, and some of these older controllers just don't give you that option that I see so far. But all in all, I'm happy with it. It was a very nice find. If you're at a Goodwill and you happen to find a Raspberry Pi for $9, hopefully this video helps you make something good out of it.
Yep.
But tell us what you think. Do you have a Raspberry Pi? Do you use RetroPie? Or are you enjoying it? But as always, I'm your co-host, Conquoer Corey.
I'm Mike.
And we'll see ya.